you don't accept the rules. I mean, chocolate is okay, but not 3 or 4 bars.
Yeah.
And then I know that you're angry. You have to take fruit. You have to drink more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. Not everybody can be
Right.
champion, but at least the good habits is something that they will keep you healthy for many years. And that strong mentality is being applied for family, for business. I mean, sports is very important in a daily life for many reasons.
No, for Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Jordi Estera, all the way from Barcelona. Jordi, how are you? How's hot Barcelona? I don't know if it's so hot these days, but I hope you're doing well.
Well, the weather is going better. I mean, autumn is arriving, but still the sun shines and a blue sky. I am happy to be here. I guess it's a fantastic period after summer, and here I am ready to talk about the sports industry.
Let's do it. I mean, like it's a pleasure having you part of this. And before we kind of like kick things off, I guess I just came across my mind a very personal story from my first trip to Barcelona. So when in 2018 I was studying sports in high school, and we had our final year, and we had the opportunity to go to Barcelona, to Lloret de Mar. Actually, it's a little bit outside, but I think you know where it is, of course. And had the opportunity to be there. I think it was a week or two roughly on like a training camp. So it's good experience. And I actually celebrated my 18th birthday in Barcelona, so wow. I have very good memories from Barcelona, and it's funny to see kind of like how, now, we're working with you guys, hopefully, I'll be back in Barcelona, meeting you, in person, and then seeing all the cool stuff you guys are doing. But I'm excited to be back,
Of course, I mean, the pandemic was a very, very, very awkward situation where so many restrictions, that economy based on tourism was blocked, was really damaged by the block of not allowing people to come, and then totally the health was the priority.
Right.
And now it's coming back to normal, step by step, with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of motivation, and of course a new point of view. But Lloret de Mar is close to the sea, lovely food, seafood, and a lot of party, by the way, and and that's coming back step by step. Vaccination was going well, the same as Portugal, and we are back to new normality, as the people say.
Right, and I mean, like you have the, I guess like once this is released as well, you're pretty much full on into the new semester, the new season of the students coming in. So I guess that must be, feeling good as well, like having the students back in the school, more present, physical as well. What is your thoughts around this, real quick?
Well, the reality is that semester 2020 is something that we have survived. It honestly was very, very difficult time for everybody. And the way to new semester, that by the way starts on the 11th of October, but we have the induction week during the present week. Students are fully motivated. That spirit to come back to see a lovely Barcelona, one of the top cities for studying, for enjoying and stuff. And it's going well. It's a lot of, I don't know, it's that type of feeling when you get recharged and the batteries are really willing to be on for a new challenge, but in a different way, of course.
Yeah, well, it's super exciting, and it's a pleasure, of course, having you here. And I mean, like, I think we just have to dive like right into a little bit about how your journey in the sport industry began. Like, I mean, like, you also were a professional tennis player, so you kind of like have to bring that in a little bit as well before you went more on the business side of things. But take us a little bit through your journey and your passion for sports and tennis.
Well, my favorite, I mean, I like many sports, but when I was young, my father, due to more or less the the feeling of you have to choose a sport in order to do, you know, after the school and things like that.
Right.
My father thought that tennis was one of the best sports that I practice. I mean, due to my presence, I am 190 tall, and I have the conditions physically on that time, because I am 47 years old right now, and that age of 12, 11, 12, 13. I have the possibility and the potential, because I was playing and winning some tournaments, and that type of introduction was, my father helped me with the sponsoring to me to go into a very good academy,
Right.
and to start feeling that balance of becoming a professional. Was true that my father, basically because he's very, very, how to say, educational background,
Mm-hmm.
he forced me to maintain this combination of education and tennis. That's
Right.
something that is not popular and is not helping. And I hope ESEI will be one of the most trending aspects in helping that minority of sports players. And then I start winning tournaments. I get some ATP points. ATP is the Association Tennis Professional,
Nice.
where you can go and escalate positions, but tennis is very tough. If you don't
Right.
get on the 50 or 80 in the world, you cannot survive, because you have to travel, paying a coach is very tough. And
Right.
it's only for how you say, for brave people, people who has sponsors
Mm.
or the intention. And my experience that I achieved with I think was the age of 17 years old. Then I decided to quit because it was too much.
Right.
And that transition allows me to enter in a university, and it's something else that is very tough, because you feel like you lose your
Mm-hmm.
time, but it's not really that happening, because my father explained me many things about that. And honestly, I'm really happy about this balance of, I'm still playing tennis as
Yeah.
amateur.
Of
By
course.
the way, we won the Catalonian tournament up
Nice.
to 14 years old. That means I am still tough.
There you go. There you go.
And was, I mean, and then I saw sports an opportunity in education. I entered with the sports and management master, and right now we are adapting our bachelor that is coming soon, and we have many other products on the way, because honestly, sports is amazing. It's so many
Right.
things that are needing to change and transform. That yeah, I mean, I love what I do.
No, but that's what matters the most, right? I mean, like it's just following your passion, and I mean, like it's a very interesting story as well, because I think, looking a little bit back as well, like tennis has a very strong culture in Spain, in
Totally.
general
Yeah.
as well, of being a very well known country for tennis. And obviously, there's very top talented world class players coming from Spain.
Oh,
And yeah.
yeah. Well, it's a mystery here, because honestly, how a country with 50 million people has always a 10 top, sorry, 10 top 100 players, or
Right.
even always one or two on the top 10.
Yeah.
There in tennis, the question was like, at the beginning, people were saying about the weather, about the clay, because we have the red
Mm,
clay. That's
yeah.
something familiar. I mean, because of Roland Garros, one of the Grand Slams,
Sure.
and we are really tough in that surface. As everybody knows, we fight every single ball. When you see Nadal, you understand what it means to die for every single ball. That's
Mm,
one of our aspects. And this endurance, this feeling is only here, because if you have all the environment doing the same, or you are the best of the best, or
right.
you cannot win. And that's also, soccer is another thing,
Mm,
football, as everybody knows, and golf is going well as well. These are the top three, but from my point of view, tennis is always the best.
right.
And as you mentioned, it's an individual sport, depends on you 100%. And
Right.
you have not a team supporting you, you have a coach outside trying to guide you if he's allowed to.
Sure.
And also female and male, we have we always had some very good players. As knows, Rafa Nadal is a galactic player,
Right.
but his legacy is coming through Alcaraz, who is a young player coming from behind and is going really fast, and I think is the future. I mean, he has a big ceiling, I mean, a big situation, but
Sure.
is that that, let's say, quality of Spain, that we create warriors on the court and they fight every single ball.
And now also warriors at SE Business School, you know, like having those sport business warriors out there as well. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there's a lot of, you know, obviously there's a reason why the best Norwegian tennis player, you know, went to join the Nadal Academy, you know, so it's he's learning, you know, the way, and he's doing really well as well. So it's really fun to watch, I think.
Well, it's that methodology, exactly. The methodology of the footwork, control of emotions, and understanding that what I told you, you can jump on the court, but if your mentality, because as you mentioned, there's so many aspects. I don't want to. I mean, I think we have 45 minutes or something like that. But it's about that combination of now technology, nutrition, communication, long-term planning, that type of psychology to make some games on the player when he's understanding that these little changes allows you to win, because you play against another player and it's very, very tough, because you can play good, but if the other player is a bit better, you lose. And that type of feeling and pressure, because recently, I don't know if you saw Djokovic against this Russian guy Mendeleev, who was playing great, both of them, but 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, bye. And he has that pressure that is going to become the greatest player in the world, winning all Grand Slams in 1 year, and blah blah blah. And that pressure of always winning, wow, is something really difficult. But I mean, that little feeling is how to train this, is how High Performance Center has to adapt. And is a big changes coming.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about obviously your you know, experience with High Performance Center and sort of like the process you've been working around that as well. But first and foremost, I wanted to, like, you know, go a little bit back to SE. You know, you're obviously one of the co-managing director at the SE Business School Barcelona, and what are some of your, you know, key responsibilities that you're working on right now, just to sort of like lay that out from an academic standpoint, I guess?
Well, ESEI, what we have been building is a great team. I mean, we have a fantastic team in terms of admissions, marketing, recruitment, academics, and business development and stuff. And due to the pandemic, we have been adapting like this, because that inclusion, as we try to ask them what you think about the school, what needs to be changed, what you think we can do better, these type of questions, and empowering them to allow the let's say that essence of you are part of something, allows to overcoming this pandemic that was tough. And right now, with my task is keeping that climate, at the same time trying to get the say entering the sports industry much deeper, because we launched 2 years ago, I think, sports management, a master in sports management. I am dealing 2 new masters coming, but one is about High Performance Center and the health on the head of that person that doesn't exist. In order to soon, to 2020 is going to be ready. And that combination of my task, as you ask, is about also the career of helping the students to understand that they have power, they have a word to say to the companies, and I help them to create their CV, their opportunities, to adapt that interview in order to explain how you add value to this company, and allowing you to run a project, and more or less a bit of everything, but always action, always a step forward, always.
Just keep going and again, like helping the students, right, succeed in their path.
Totally.
And I think you touched about something very important too, of just listening now, to the students, to your staff, about like, okay, what are how has the pandemic impacted us, and what are some of the like immediate changes that we have to do to adapt, because
Totally.
it was a big shift for everyone. And then you sort of like have your game plan, you have your ways of doing things, right? And this
Totally.
from being a professional tennis player and working with high performance center too, that you have to adapt, the flexibility and adapting to the
Exactly.
situation is critical.
Exactly. You never fail. What you have to fail is better. That's the question, and that's the constructive way. As I
Right.
say, communication is very important. It's like you have to understand that you have to do things. You cannot wait until the things are coming to you. You have to go and thinking as you're a student, potentially a future leader, and you have to believe on this
Right.
blindly. And then when you are understanding that this is your routine, this is your headlight, let's say,
Right.
well, you wake up is wow. You have to be careful. You can go against the door if you are not. You have to get that spirit. That's what we encourage here at ESEI. We
Yep.
love the students to be happy, smiling, and understanding. I want more, 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 and teachers as the same. That win-win relation is really, really great. That's why ESEI, I think, is one of the best schools in that sense. People who wants really understanding the business side
Mm-hmm.
or the business needs, and yeah, and ready for challenge always.
Right. No, for sure. And I mean, like, I wanted us to touch a little bit upon obviously, for like, at least 5 years I've been working with a high performance center as well. And they're like in correlation with your role with SE. So I was thinking like, talk a little bit about like how you've been able to balance, both roles to ensure that you're providing, the key value in both sides of the table. Because I mean, like, obviously that's very
Totally.
important, and I think a lot of students as well are very like, they're they're having their studies, they're maybe want to do like some work, and then they're kind of like they feel like they're struggling to balance it. So I think like even like in your head, like having these both two key responsibilities of providing value, it will give them some insights of like, okay, it's still feasible, you can still do it, you just have to be very smart about your approach and how you do things.
Exactly. Well, totally agree. I mean, the reality of high performance center is is a revolutionary business
Right.
who totally is drastically change or must change.
Sure.
New blood has to come. That's why I encourage all young students who are in that trendy line of studies and things not to be afraid. Totally the contrary. They have to be strong. They need to show action, and they need to understand that it's not easy. It's not easy because old-fashioned. I mean, let's put an example. Generally, the coaches are there for with their methodology, their day-to-day exercises, but they understand that they need to show to the players the path, the continuous learning, the continuous evaluation, and it's something that they never did before, and they need to use technology that generally are not being accepted because it's something new.
Right.
The needs of forcing them to give you as a company a report about the progression, the tournaments, the calendar, how you want to get from point A to point B and from point B to point Z, and that never ends.
Sure.
Not losing ethics, understanding that they have to be a good human beings. It's like competition on court is winning or lose, or die or survive,
Right.
But that balance, as we understand, tennis is very gentle, let's put it like that. That have to be teach, and you cannot. I mean, a champion right now is not born; is made. Is something
Right.
that something like that have to be the basics. Sometimes you have rebel kids and ladies because they have that combination of not understanding what they want, and the, how to say, the combination is something, how to say, is something that have to be as an orchestra, no? When you have some director, you have to understand people have to follow you, understanding the short, medium, and long-term plans, and also the communication with the fathers to trust that what we are doing is great, and they don't have to be involved too much. They have to understand that if you are in good hands, you have to believe about these changes are going to happen in a term, either for a professional player, either for not professional, but the values of the sports are something that they have to be living with us due to the pandemic. And a good example of sedentarism and eating food and all that, you have to know, because you are what you eat. That's a very classic question, but sport is everywhere and it must be everywhere. That either amateur, professional, and the team have to be, or let's put it like that: the coach is something you have to earn. It's not a label anymore, and it's continuous learning, and that's what we try to prepare people for the future, people for that type of needs, as so many values are involved, so many messages are there, and yeah, it's tough, but as you say, living with cows and at the same time trying to put the cows in order, and telling to the kids that the simple message is do this, do this, do this, and then next week again or something else, but always on top of the players.
Essentially, you're just breaking it down, into little pieces here of like, measurable actions and goals that you can do in order to achieve, those results. And I was listening as well, like to your, kind of like thought process around like the coaches and like, adapting new technologies and sort of like, learning that process, which I mean, like, I guess can be a little bit, I wouldn't say scary, but a little bit like different, for people to kind of like accepting it, right? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about like being able to go out of your comfort zone, in not only for the students but also the coaches, right, and people in the high performance center, because at the end of the day you want to ensure quality, right, wherever you are, and that's a key element.
Yeah, exactly. For example, I give you a quick example about Norwegians, for example, Sweden, and an exercise that is simple, but the way to reinvent yourself was fantastic. No, and a little example. Normally, you jump on a tennis court, you have 3 or 100 balls to train. That's depending on what you're going to do. This little action of saying, like, for example, if you have 100 balls, your mind, it says, if I fail, I take another ball and I hit the ball. And then boom, boom, boom. I am not conscious that when on a court in a game, if I make a failure, it's point for the contrary.
Yeah.
But coming back to change that, you give them to the players one single ball. And you see the big change, because they play, they know how to play, they know how to train. But when you have one ball and you know that if you fail, you have to go yes or yes to pick up that ball wherever the ball is.
Yeah.
Your mind is adapting to a big change, and then you know that you have not to fail. That's a reason why is changing a little bit the way of training and making the player to adapt to the circumstances. And like that, there are thousands of little aspects that they are helping to the player to what we say, control of emotions, understanding that they have to be tough, really tough, and going to always breaking their comfort zone, as you mentioned. That's totally agree.
Right.
And that's how it works. And that's something that you have to be creative, as something else that I want to say. Do the things as every day. The routine is killing you. Time to time, you have to really break their comfort zone and saying, now we do something else. And even sometimes with the kids, we create a game in the academy. And the intention was creating the environment on hostile environment, shouting to the player and making noise. And the player has to deal with this, because when you're in a big tournament, you cannot control the audience, let's say. No. And all these little things are the way to play with pressure, playing, you know, and is thinking out of the box, but it's no box anymore. That box is an invention that we have no box. It's just thinking openly, brightly, and with courage to not being doing routine as many others. Routine is killing you. And any sport player or any business, if you jump in routine, is not I mean, the pandemic was not a routine, right? But that type of going in a tunnel when you don't see the light and just have to keep walking onward, saying, I have to try this, I have to try that, that's not working, that's another thing to do, right? And I think it's how you can change and get better and better and better, believing on you and always thinking like, until someone stops me, I will go forward. 100%. I mean, like it's a really key advice here, and I think I wanted to touch a little bit upon, you know, just creating this, I guess, high performance center, right, in Barcelona, and sort of like managing that. You know, what have been some of the key challenges that you've seen, you know, creating this, and sort of like, I guess, working so closely as well with, you know, professional players, like with different kind of managers and coordinators to, you know, ensuring not only to build this high performance center, but also, you know, building a high quality culture inside it as well, not only for, you know, the staff, but also the athletes, right, that are part of this. Well, the history of the High Performance Center, when had 30 years of history, but went around 6 years ago. Right. The transition of that old culture to the new culture was more or less what you exposed, was a big challenge. Yeah, we starting to attract players, professional players, asking them the personalized training on their needs, because sometimes players, what they need is let's say, for example, when it's coming winter, that the tournaments they suspend and they have to, for example, getting more speed or a bit weight, or they are looking for the season, either the hard court, the clay court, or the or green court as Wimbledon. They have to. Well, now as we go back, we don't have the same shoes. We adapt to the shoes. The rackets are the material being used is changing. Right. The little aspects about injuries or recuperation is something that is a science, is something that goes crazily in a very, 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 very detailed aspect of, for example, through nutrition, you can do this, you have to follow these things. And again, is these sports players, what they want is someone who really wants, with that passion again, to create that strategic plan with all the needs involved, and at the same time, from the management point of view, including them or getting them in that window, that's social media and all this, because maybe we can talk about that if you want, but I mean, is understanding that we are all in the same page. It's like you cannot go on this direction because the coach is the physical teacher coach is giving him some exercises, but later maybe he's doing another exercise on court. I mean, have to be that coordination of one really clear headline, and always labeling this to the player, saying you have to know that today, if you do this, you have to do this, but 25 more things. If you just do the one and the other 20 on your way, is not going to work. Right. Who believes this becomes professional, grows, and gets always a better player, because again, is how to say, is 1 + 1 equal to 3, no, more or less,
Right.
how a professional player must be doing mathematics on the
Yeah.
way to believe, because if they go to 1 + 1 equal to 2, doesn't work.
Right. But I think also this is very relatable to, the upcoming, sports leaders, in terms of like thinking, this sort of mindset that of course, like kind of like, yes, I can, attend this program, for instance, at SE, and yeah, I'll get like, some insights and some knowledge, but there's, 10, 15, 20 other things I have to do, to get in this career and to, get the results that I want. But let's talk a little bit about this, sort of like the mindset and the
Well,
importance of,
that's a bit, yeah, that's a typical conversation because it's true, but it's something that I want to include as understanding that if the whole and the global picture of how sports works, if you use technology, that's one of the key aspects. You have in front a player who wants to win, who wants to fight, who wants to get the best of the world, and who really believes that he's able to do it. And this is needed. I mean, the communication here is tough because you get someone who thinks knows everything, but he didn't win what he must win, but he believes he's going to win.
right.
And when he says, "Well," then suddenly comes the failure or losing a match, and it's coming down because, as you know, tennis, you win, you pass to the next round, you lose, you have to
Yeah,
wait
we're
1 week to play again. And that pressure again is tough. And then what generally we talk to the players is like that type of, well, that's very Spanish. Maybe it's our secret about why in tennis we're so tough.
Let's
Is
get
that
the Spanish secret here.
exactly? Is that, for example, as you mentioned, breaking the comfort zone? I give you a single example that I remember. That, for example, you have a player in the other side. You're doing a volley, and the player is on the side, and you just move the player because you are on the volley, really, really easy.
Mhm.
And the player gets a moment that starts to need to breathe. I mean, it's a long rally, and
Yeah.
then the player is starting to think of hitting in the other side because the player is feeling tired. That is when here starts the real training. It says, give me one more, give me one more, another one, another one. The players need to be to the limit, and you have to force him to get another ball. That feeling like he's able to get there, and then when he's near on that level of you don't think is going to be in the next one, is when you ask him now the important ball. Win the ball, cross, and do your best, because that's the tough ball when
Right.
you change direction. But being tired, being like you get to the maximum, and this when you are on that strong mentality,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you are doing a great training. Why? Because later when you have that feeling, you know what you have to do. And if
Right.
you control the emotions and you know that you have to know that you can get 3, 4, 5 more balls, you know that you can use that on your behalf, on your needs. And this type of exercises, or this type of saying, for example, is that as I say, the player gets to know this is being recorded, and when the player comes to you says, no, but I lose the game, I didn't know what I lose. You learn from failures. That's a that's a worst part of sports. You learn from failures. You don't learn from winnings. You win, you even go to the next match. But if you lose, you want to know the reasons. And normally everybody blames on themselves, and then is when you can use technology, showing them that look at that. This point, you throw the
Right.
racket, not acceptable. From this mistake, you make 3 more mistakes, and you lose the match because of your lack of consistency or whatever. But when they see themselves is when you have them on the best feeling of getting better for the next time, and doing exercises how to, for example, just not being so focused sometimes, to look at the sky,
Right.
to come back and get to the next ball, because these little tricks, they have to be teach, and they have to be trained, and it's a fantastic evolution when you see the player that you are doing rallies of I don't know 20 balls.
Yeah.
He thinks it's the press, and then you show after 2 months a new rally that you do another rally and the player is doing 35 balls, 15 more balls than before. Also the weight, we constantly get the weight, the type of food that we give them, because it must be always there in order to say, well, you are slower because you are getting some weight, or you are slower because you maybe at night you are eating chocolate and you don't accept the rules. I mean, chocolate is okay, but not 3 or 4 bars.
Yeah.
And then I know that you're angry, you have to take fruit, you have to drink more.
Yeah.
It's not easy. Not everybody can be champion, but at least the good habits is something that they will keep you healthy for many years. And that strong mentality is being applied for family, for business. I mean, sports is very important in a daily life for many reasons.
No, for sure. And I mean, like, I think what is very interesting as well about, tennis is that, I mean, like, obviously I don't, follow it like to an extreme degree, but I've been, watching a little bit, especially, because of our Norwegian, friend doing so well. But I think always tennis is very interesting in the way where, there's several, the matches tends to be very long, so it's sort of like a little bit back and forth, you know what I mean, in a sense where, okay, the player A wins, this round, and then player B wins the other round, and then kind of like goes a little bit back and forth. It's very sort of like, very long games, and very long matches, which has been very, I think it must be very mentally, exhausting in a sense as well for the players. And it's almost like, okay, who is the toughest, not necessarily physically, but mentally, to end up winning the game overall, between the two athletes. And I don't know your thoughts on this. I don't know if I'm on the right track here.
Well, that's a big question about what I come back to. As you mentioned, tennis, for example, I'm also a big fanatic about this sport. And I put example as, for example, Rafa Nadal or Djokovic. They have years of playing. Djokovic is on the top one for over more than a year, and this feeling of when you saw them, like Djokovic is what I say mentally the strongest,
right?
Because he's very regular. He knows when he has to attack, when he has to defend. He is always showing that he is not so empathetic as Roger Federer, the other that is perfection. This guy,
sure.
I don't know if he touched the floor. Sometimes he flies on the court. And the last one is Nadal, who is endurance. That's the toughest guy, that he goes every single ball. Either he plays with the 1,000 player in the world or the 2 player in the world, he plays on the same intensity.
Yeah.
There are aspects that for the audience will be nice, knowing that he is warming up near 40 minutes before every single match. That's something that not all professionals they do. And he knows his needs, as well as his I don't know how to say, that type of movements with the bottles and all that is a secret, because he knows the analysis from every single player. He wants to know what he has to do. If he thinks it's going to be a tough match, he knows when he has to eat carbohydrates or maybe a banana, or he's really ready to analyzing in advance what he's going to confront. And if the match is going well, fantastic. If the match is tough, he knows he has to run more, and he knows how to move in every single needs of the intention to win, because it's in a sport of, I mean, tennis is what you mentioned. If you play today, you have a long match, how to recover, how to be ready for the next match. that type of sport is individual, no?
Yeah.
In order to say tennis for that they are sacred, because for example, when you defend, you have to play across because it's a long distance. You never play parallel because it's shorter. Or either if the player goes to the net, you have to make him volley, not passing and doing a passing on the first ball. That's a mistake. You have to always getting a little space. When you see the space is when you can hit, but that's because of the young players who they have no passions, or they have not that feeling of building the rally. You have to go step by step, and when you see the opportunity, you can go. If you doubt, hit with. It's, as you mentioned, it's very mental, but needs to be showing them their secrets of not making mistakes, of always beating or hitting one more ball than the other. And all that is coming to, again, to the Spanish methodology. That's what we have been training for over, I don't know, many years. And maybe that's why we have one of the best. Well, we have always on the top players, there are always Spaniards there.
Right.
Because they know how to fight every single ball.
Well, I mean, like I think that's a key lesson here, though. If there's one thing people can take from the podcast, it's like always expect another ball,
Exactly. Always. Well, that's a mistake, no? That that's a funny a joke. Sorry. Is when you get a player and you go to Spain or Portugal and Greece, generally are the toughest players, and then what happens is that we don't get so many visitors who is coming, as you mentioned, your friend from Norway, with the courage to get to Spain and winning here.
Yeah,
I'm sure the takeoff of this player is going to go back to Norway, and it's going to be, what the hell, this guy never fails. He's doing top spin. That's another aspect that we do in Norway. They play surf and volley and this and that. The weather is not allowing them to play on clay, maybe in summer, but because clay you use is the ball with the sun goes slower, and then I don't know. I hope soon is coming the Davis Cup, by the way, on November, and let's see what happens. If Spain is going to win again or maybe not, we will see.
Well, he was part of the European team that just won like the recent competition, the Europe
Labor Cup. Labor.
Yeah.
It's starting now. I think it's playing. They are playing now.
Yeah. No. So I saw like his Instagram post that they won. So I was like, yes.
Nice.
So they're doing. He's doing well. He's been performing. I mean, like he was always a good talent, right, and hardworking person. But he took a very huge step. Obviously, he had sponsors, like in Norway helping him, and then obviously being able to join the Nadal Academy, he's been taking huge steps and doing well in the rankings as well. So it's a fun story. He's still kind of young, I think he's still like 21, 22 or something like that. So he has a lot of potential, and I think he can be really strong. But he's learning. He's been using the last few years learning the Spanish mentality and playing on clay and all this good stuff. So I'm sure maybe he'll be one of the best, who knows?
Fantastic.
Hopefully. Good. But I wanted to sort of like finish up here and sort of like finish up with the questions. Just more specifically, what kind of tips do you have, for students that are, looking to work in the sport industry, but maybe like closer to, professional athletes, maybe, in a high performance, center setting. Like, what kind of tips do you have for them?
Well, being honest, I think is an aspect of these people who is applying for an interview, either encouraging them or this passion to get in this type of business. What they have to be is not being afraid. They have to go, and even sometimes I am surprised that if they know what happens, even going with the spirit of saying, you are not doing this, I hope I can help you here, and showing to the manager or the person that you have been talking about, there's so many things that they have to be changed because of the rhythm, because of the needs, because of the structure.
Right.
And that commitment is from someone who really is full of energy. Sometimes at the beginning it's not going to be easy, because they have to understand that the sports is, you don't accept failure. If someone is telling you no, say against why, or give me a reason in order to why you don't want to change the, I don't know, the marketing aspects of this company, the social media, something is very important, the customer relation management that never happens, and they have to understand that is part of the change of continuous evaluation aspects of invoicing and everything that we didn't talk about inside of business from the high performance center. But all that cannot be done as before. I mean, the speed of communication dies every night at 12 o'clock and wakes up every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. And from, I don't know, for example, a player who wins a tournament, the coach there have to send a picture. That picture have to be published on the same day, about the congratulations from that kid or boy who was growing in terms of classification and stuff. If you do it 1 week after, this player is another tournament. And you cannot talk about the tournament from the last week. I mean, it's crazy. And you have to be using the fresh aspects and building this atmosphere of creating a calendar to inform the fathers about the progression of the kids, and all that is not being done. I mean, some high performance centers, they try to adapt, but they don't have the mentality. And that's why these new people have to come with this way of being responsible, willing to make the change, being strong in informing the other people about why do you want to do this, and if you do this, which aspects are going to help you on your daily life. And I think is my tip, telling them that if they like that, they don't have this is very interesting. But I mean, it's really being ready to think in another way and showing them that the need of change is part of the rule in the new future. And I really think these people is not academic anymore. I mean, they cannot go with the basics of a book. The book is there, and the book is writing every day, and they need to be a bit in that sense. I don't know if I put more or less an advice, but I say don't be afraid and go for it.
No, it makes total sense, and I think it's a perfect way to sort of like, wrap up this podcast for now. Of course, we could touch upon a lot of different things, but we have to keep it within the time frame. Who knows? We'll dig a little bit deeper into things, in the future. Regardless of that, if to sort of like finish up here. Obviously, Jordi, I would like to thank you, for taking the time, and for those that have, been listening and enjoying this, make sure to, sign up if you haven't already at the Sporting Global page, and follow the ESEI page at sportingglobal.com, and connect with Jordi and a lot of the students, alumni there, so you're aware what they're doing, check them out, and see if maybe there's a good program for you that could fit you in the process. And Jordi, we have a tradition here at the podcast. I don't know if you know about it all already, but we have to teach you some Norwegian. That's
all right.
Yeah. I mean, like that's how it is.
I have to put the helmet now.
Viking. You have to be a Viking now. That's what it is now. So essentially, with every video we do, we always finish with "Vi snakkes," which means "see you later" in Norwegian. So that's what you gotta say.
Vi snakkes.
Yeah, there you go. Great job. Okay. All right, thank you so much, Jordi. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
A pleasure, and I hope to talk to you soon, anytime, any possibility, and see you in Barcelona.
See you in Barcelona. All right, bye-bye.